Okay, we're here with Erik Altemus, who was gracious enough to let us interview him for the site. Why don't you tell us a little bit about your background in terms of, where you came from, when you moved to the city, and what you've been in.
How I got here.
How you got here right now.
Right now.
Here.
Well, I am from California originally. I grew up out in the East Bay, outside San Francisco, about 20 minutes outside. And I grew up always being really interested in music. My parents actually, they tell me this funny story of like when I was a little boy, I guess I used to sit right in front of the speakers and perfectly conduct the music that whatever they would be playing, and they noticed it, from a pretty early age that I was seemingly in time. I don't know how accurate I was, but I guess I was drawn to it. And from there, when I was 8 years old, I did my first show. My mom, very graciously was very enthusiastic about me pursuing what I wanted to do, and I feel really lucky to have had that support growing up, because it's definitely kind of since then that was the beginning of what has now been kind of what I've dedicated most of my life to, which is performing. So my first show was Oliver. I was 8 years old. I was in the ensemble, and I remember I was really jealous that I wasn't Oliver. I was like, I want to be Oliver. But it was my first show. I didn't really know what I was doing, and the great thing about that experience was that led me to my first voice teacher, who was a woman who also had a daughter in the show, and she taught voice out of her home, and immediately kind of saw my potential and wanted to work with me. And I also met some of my really good lasting friends from that experience, and started taking classes at ACT in San Francisco, to their kids department, the kids conservatory. And yeah, that really, like I said, kind of launched me into the next 10 years of my life before I went to school. I went to college. I did a lot more community theater in the Bay Area, and just continued to kind of deepen my understanding of the musical theater world, listened to all the albums, and really got into it. And when I was 10, my dad got a job promotion, and we moved down to Orange County in California, which is like, I always feel the need to tell people I'm not from Orange County, you know what I mean? Because it's like, people have such a stigmatism around Orange County, and it's appropriate, because it's a very conservative, wealthy, beautiful place, but just not really an artistically inspiring place. But a very important thing that happened to me there was my high school. I went to the Orange County High School of the Arts, which Matt Morrison graduated from there. We also had Susan Egan, who was the original Belle in Beauty and the Beast. She was Tony nominated. She went there, and it really prepared me for committing to a life in the theater, because we had our academics from 8 to 2, and then after that we had conservatory, and it really helped me prepare for college, in wanting to go to conservatory and whatnot. And so after high school, I applied to CCM, which is the College Conservatory of Music in Cincinnati, Ohio, and got accepted, and was one of originally 24, that then by the time I graduated was 14. So that was a really competitive environment to be in. But again, it's like one thing has just led me to the next, because at that point, right before I went to school, it was like I was a big fish in a small pond. I kind of utilized my resources to their max capacity, as far as being in Orange County and being 18 years old. It's like I did the most that I could there. And I felt, it was funny, I never even considered applying to a Californian school, because I knew I needed to just kind of get out. And I had always known I wanted to come to New York. And so that was kind of one way to actually bridge the experience from high school into a life in New York, was moving, slowly but surely out east, like just a baby step at a time. And yeah, school was great. College was amazing. CCM has a great program, and I champion it to anyone that is really interested in pursuing a career in musical theater. There are a couple really great schools out there. I mean, I don't think there's really one above the other that is better or not. I think it's you know, a matter of assessing faculty, and location can be a consideration, although for me it was great because it really kind of just stripped away all the other distractions I would have had if I'd been in a place like New York or if I'd stayed home. It really caused me to focus on what I was doing there, you know. And it was also good too. I mean, part of being a performer is packing up your life and moving to new places and experiencing new things, and I think, you know, that's something you have to be open to, and that experience really really kind of prepped me for that too. So college happened. It was great. It was tough. It was very, you know, at points I wanted to leave because I was just like, oh, this is so hard, but I knew if I stuck with it, it would ultimately be a great thing for me, and it was. I graduated in 2009 and got an agent through my showcase, which was, you know, something that I think at the time I almost expected, because everyone pretty much gets signed out of those showcases. But now that I, you know, have now been at school for 3 years, and I realize how tough it is and how many people I know that are so talented that don't have agents. You know, that's one of the great things about going to one of those schools, is like you really kind of go out into the world with this pre-approved stamp of legitimacy, in a sense. You know, it's like you then have to prove yourself, but that was a luxury that I didn't really realize at the time was something to really appreciate. Now, however, I do. I've been with my agents for 3 years. They're great, and they have gotten me some great work, some really interesting different projects. I did the Fantastics for a year, actually the Off-Broadway revival up on 50th Street, up here, like pointing at the windows, up there.
Right there, right on the balcony.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I did that, and I did that. Let's see, I did the Muni for that first summer when I had graduated Muni Theater in St. Louis. Got my equity card that way, which was great. Came back to the city with my equity card, and about 2 months later booked the Fantastics and quit my restaurant job and did that 8 times a week. And then, yeah, that's kind of carried me through to where I am now.
And now you're going to be going out on the road for 3 months, you said, on the Hairspray tour?
It's actually not the tour. It's a regional production in Chicago. It's at the Drury Lane Theater in Chicago, and yeah, I'm going to be there for 3 months. I'm going to be there till June, playing Link in Hairspray, and it's kind of an interesting connection, you know, with Matt Morrison.
Right, I was just going to say that. Yeah, he
Link
played
originally,
on Broadway.
you know, now. And it's funny, I actually worked with Matt. We did a 30-minute like medley kind of thing for my high school for a big fundraiser we had, and he came back and he did Link, and I think I was Fender or something. Like,
that's fun.
And we worked together. So it was funny, actually. I saw him last week when I was in LA at one of the pre-Oscar parties, which was crazy. But I was there with my friend and saw him, and he totally remembered me. And I was like, "Yeah, I'm going to play Link in Hairspray." And he's like, "Oh my God, have fun with that!" Like, you know, it's kind of cool to feel that community on such a different level.
Right,
you know,
right.
On all kinds of different levels. So.
What one song are you looking forward to performing the most when you go out there?
Oh man, I have to say I just love. I love Without Love. It's such a fun, I think, great number. It's just the way it builds and all the different, you know, realizations that happen within that song. It's like such a big point for those 4 central characters, you know, to all kind of realize, you know, it's a turning point for all of them, I think. And it just is a fun song to sing. But the whole thing's gonna be fun. So.
And then you'll be back here in the summer, back in New York?
Yes, back in the city in New York, and back here for the summer, and then we'll see. You know, it's part of what I've learned. You know, now being out of school for 3 years is how to fill the time in between a job. You know, because you have a job. Everything's great, you know, before you get it, you want one so badly, and then when you do, you're like, oh, okay, here, now I have a job. It's like, you know, one of those sayings, like the quickest way to get an actor to complain is to give them work.
Right.
And it's true, you know, because as soon as you're in a job, you start like realizing all the other things that you want to do and whatnot. So I've really learned, and still continuing to learn, how to fill that time in between. And for me, it's been songwriting and you know, taking classes and engaging myself and in exercising different parts of my brain. that I don't necessarily get to when I'm locked into an 8-show, 8-show a week schedule, or, on a job in a regional place where I'm kind of removed from my life and just focusing on that there. So, yeah, and then it makes you ready when you do, when you do get some work. It's like, okay, I'm ready for that change, and I'm ready to be back in that grind of rehearsing all day, and then, doing a show at night and meeting people. And it's what I love about what we do. It's like you always get to meet new people and kind of make a new group of people your family, even if it's for 2 months, a year, whatever. That's something that I really love about this industry.
You already interspersed the interview with a lot of great advice. Is there some other piece of advice that you would like to give people who are just starting out in what they can do? You seem like a very friendly person. So that's also something that's probably helped you in your success?
Thank you. I guess, I don't know, I think the important thing for people, young actors, to remember, this is something that now at this point in my life, I just turned 25, I am still learning this and will continue to for a long time, but I think as a young actor, it's so easy to be so hungry to get out there and to make things happen so quickly. And there can even be an expectation that things will happen quickly. Like I said, going to school at a prestigious conservatory, I had a set of expectations I had for what things were going to be as soon as I got out of school. And I was very fortunate to land a pretty great job, like right out of college, but some of my friends hadn't. And now that I'm, like I said, at this point, like 3 years out, I haven't made my Broadway debut yet. That's something I'm still waiting for and want to happen and trying to make happen. And,
right.
What I've learned is that everyone has their own path.
Right.
Everyone's path is so uniquely their own. And as much as I think it is very important to admire and to respect your contemporaries and to try to emulate, or not emulate, but try to keep yourself in that, in that same race, almost in the sense like, okay, like I want to continue, like if they did it at this age, I want to do it at that age, I think that's great to have that drive, but I think you have to have, the other side of that is you have to be able to accept, this is where I am right now, and my personal path in my career isn't necessarily about getting that big break right out of school, because then where do I go from there, you know
right.
what I mean? Like my interest in doing what I do is, it lies in the fact that I love it, and I want to do this my whole life. And so there's no rush, you know what I mean? There's no rush to make things happen the way it happens for one person or someone else. You just have to focus on, remembering that you love what you do and working hard. And I think doing that is all you can do, and the rest just kind of falls into place. And it's different for everyone. That's my big, I think, little gem, if you will. If I'm equipped to pass on gems of information, that's something that is really just, I'm starting to really accept. And because of that, more opportunities are coming my way, and I'm seeing more opportunities in places than I hadn't before. So.
Perfect. Thank you so much for taking the time to speak with us, Erik. We really appreciate it.
Thank you, and best of luck.
Thank you.